Hello, Ring of Honor fans. Welcome to the latest interview. I've gotten the pleasure of interviewing Tracy Williams of the Foundation. Tracy, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. It's good to
So,
hear that. Tracy Williams of the Foundation. I like it.
yeah, you spoke with WrestleZone's own Bill Pritchard just a couple short months ago, but obviously so much has changed since that time. At that point, you were just about to enter the finals of the Pure Championship tournament, where you
Mhm.
really had this breakout performance pretty much throughout the whole run there. And then the finals, absolutely incredible match with Jonathan Gresham. And then right after that match, fans saw kind of the formation of the Foundation. Could you walk me through kind of the culmination of your journey throughout the tournament, and then kind of what it felt like to form the foundation, which has already in a short time kind of become a pretty prominent force in Ring of Honor.
Yeah. I mean, we were kind of keeping a lot under wraps there for a little while because, I talked to John about it a while before the tournament because I could tell that we were both in a really similar state of mind when it came to what we were seeing going on in Ring of Honor and where we saw our careers and where we should be. And I felt like, there's strength in numbers, there's power in numbers, especially when you have something so strong in common, such a tie that binds you together. And so, going into the tournament, we both knew what the end game was. The end game was to use this championship as the starting point to really get this foundation going and rebuild this company the way that it should be built. We just didn't know who was going to hold that title. And we knew that, I expected to see John in the finals. I think he expected to see me in the finals. A lot of people didn't expect it, but we knew what we were going in to do and we knew what we were prepared to do. And so we saw each other in the finals. And yeah, overall, I mean, the tournament was an amazing thing for Ring of Honor overall, and an amazing thing for me specifically. And yeah, I was really happy with it. I mean, the finals match. I mean, it's rough for me to watch back because it was very grueling. I mean, it's not something that's really been touched on, but that was both John and my third time wrestling that day in you know singles matches. High stakes singles matches. And so going into it, knowing that you've already wrestled twice, your body's just kind of crashing. It's really hard to properly fuel yourself for that kind of a long day of going out and doing it over and over again. I think most wrestlers are used to leaving it all out there in the whatever time they have in their one match. And so that was our third time doing that day. And I just, whenever I watch it back, it just, I see it. I see it in how I'm moving, how I'm fighting and everything. So it's rough to watch, but it is such a special thing because of what it meant and what it did and what it started. So yeah.
You might say it's rough to watch, but I remember when I watched the match at the time, like it didn't seem like your third match at all. Like you guys went out there and you tore it down. Like this was the final of this tournament, a really physical match. Like I think that's the maybe a more fitting word. It was grueling, but I interpret that more to mean you guys still left it all out there, even though you did have to kind of wrestle multiple matches that day. And I think that's interesting. Like I hadn't even considered that myself, where WWE, other AEW, other companies have gotten a lot of attention for that throughout the pandemic, where they had to kind of have those marathon filming sessions, and Ring of Honor has kind of shined a light on their own protocols and procedures, but that's one thing that hasn't gotten as much attention. So how did you how you mentioned it was hard to find that extra gear to kind of click into, but how did you find that extra kind of motivation to deliver a championship caliber match after this grueling day of physicality?
I mean, that's the interesting thing about wrestling is that it's like it has to happen. Like it gets to a certain point where you just have no choice, and you got to go through the curtain and you got to do it. Kind of no matter what's going on. And I think that's what I really like about wrestling, and that's what I think makes it the most exciting, is that it's no matter what, even though we're taping in this bubble and there's no crowd, you're still going live. Like there's no real way to like fake that or to like try to emulate that. It's like you have to just go out there and do it. And the advantage I think of having wrestled already so many times in those 2 days or whatever that we were taping is that at that point I was at least used to the no fans environment. and so that wasn't really a factor because that was a weird thing to step into to begin with, to know that you were gonna have to give it your all without that extra aspect of the crowd giving you that energy. And so luckily I was already used to that. And at that point, I mean, it's not autopilot because that sounds, like passive, but it's just, you just have to. But that's what I really love about wrestling is that you get to a certain point where there's no excuses, and the bell rings and nobody else that's watching it cares that it's your third time wrestling, or that you're tired, or that you didn't eat right, or any of that stuff. Nobody cares. Just you got to give them the best show that you can, which is why I love it. So
Well, you two certainly delivered quite a show in that championship match, and I really enjoyed it. I think it really was a great way to bring the pure title back with this, remarkable match that really did showcase the pure wrestling that pretty much everybody in the tournament had been speaking about. And then, of course, kind of right when the tournament ended, the foundation was born, and now we're, I guess, what pretty much 2+ months into it, and the foundation had a really strong kind of opening showing at Final Battle, and now again you're kind of this prominent force in Ring of Honor. I was listening to your interview with Bill Pritchard earlier today, and you were talking about some of the shortcomings of Lifeblood, and I think that's one thing that a lot of Ring of Honor fans have naturally compared the foundation to, where I think there were some similar goals there. But you hinted at it just a couple minutes ago, where the foundation does have a tie that binds, and would you say that's kind of maybe the X factor of the group, where you all are kind of united by that common cause, and so you're all going for the same goal?
yes, right, yeah. It's interesting because the goals are similar for sure. I mean, even some of the verbiage is the same, which is why I think the comparison is natural, because I still am here to restore honor. The foundation is here to restore honor. It's something we've heard before, but I think before people had different interpretations of what that meant. And so even though we all wanted the same thing to happen, we all were maybe not necessarily going about it the same way, and so the vision wasn't as clear, and the message wasn't quite as clear. Not to mention, I mean, just the hand that we were dealt, people ended up in different situations, going different places, and all these kind of things. Um, but yeah, this feels like a really like zoned in version of trying to accomplish that goal, where we all feel that we are definitely on the same page. We all have the same ethos and the same belief. And so yeah, we feel really dialed in now. And I know the comparisons are natural, but I think, there will come a point where the line will be drawn so distinctly that that comparison will fade away.
I think it already is fading in the sense that the foundation does have um, three of the company's top titles already, where Gresham and Lethal hold the World Tag Team titles, and Gresham obviously also holds the Pure Championship. And I think the four of you have already kind of touched on it, but now the longer the foundation kind of goes on, and the natural question is, you and Red Titus already teamed a Final Battle where you pick up the win. And also, I think just like a week or two ago, Ring of Honor released their first kind of the rankings for the Pure Division. And of course, you're right at the top there. Where do you stand on potentially challenging not only Gresham, but potentially Gresham and Lethal for their respective titles, or potentially going beyond them for the television title or even the world title? Where do you think about your potential championship pursuits, especially as
Right.
a member of the group?
Yeah, it's an interesting sort of dynamic there, and an interesting thing to navigate because yeah, I mean I'm in the pure rankings right now, and I may be high in the pure rankings, and of course, nothing has changed where I would love to be the pure champion. I mean, to me, I've said it before, to me, the pure championship is the top title in Ring of Honor as far as singles divisions go. I mean, it is the wrestling championship, and we are a wrestling company. And so if you're holding the championship that shows that you are currently the best pure wrestler, then you're the best guy in the company as far as I'm concerned. So that's always going to be a goal, but looking at the bigger picture is different, because if I go after the pure title now, or let's say I team up with Rhett and we go after the tag championships, we're essentially trading our own power, amongst ourselves. And so, yeah, I think it is only a natural thing to think about of how can I take this power and spread it out, and look to the other divisions and see, which one is going to serve us best, and try to, give us the most power that we can get, because that's what it is in wrestling. In Ring of Honor, championships are power. It's influence. It shows, it proves something, and it puts you in a position where now you're the guy that's getting chased instead of the guy doing the chasing. And so, yeah, should I chase people that are on my side or should I try to get more power for the people on my side? That's the question. So I think, the choice is clear. It's just a matter of time to see how that all shakes out and see where I go and what I go after.
At least at this juncture, do you have kind of a preference for which title you would chase? I guess, especially if you would assume that maybe the goal would be to expand that power base, as you just mentioned, right? If it's Dragon Lee for the television title, potentially Roosh for the world title, or obviously this weekend you've got the match with Shane Taylor Promotions, and we'll touch on that in a bit. But are you leaning in a certain way, or at least are you kind of inclined to go follow a certain path, or is it just a matter of completely, whatever happens at this point?
Yeah, I mean, right now, I feel the focus is a bit spread out. So I think the time is coming to really narrow it down because we've got coming up on ROH TV a six-man tag team match with myself, John Gresham, and Jay Lethal against Shane Taylor Promotions, Shane Taylor and SOS. And so that right there could be the start of something. That right there could be a potential focus because there's a lot on the line there. It's not a title match in itself, but it feels just as important to me because both of these teams have so much to prove. Shane Taylor Promotions, they just declined being handed the six-man championships when the Mexa squad couldn't compete at the tapings, couldn't defend their titles. It had been so long that the board of directors was willing to take those titles and hand them to the number one contenders, which at the point were somewhat by default SOS and Shane Taylor. But they didn't take that opportunity. They wanted to prove that they deserve championships. And so this is the first step to them doing that. But at the same time, on the other end of the coin, we're in the exact same position. The foundation is in the exact same position where now this is our first step to show that maybe this is our next step. Maybe the six-man championships are our next step. But at the same time, that's asking a lot of Gresham and Lethal, two guys who are already the tag team champions, who already have to focus on defending those tag team championships every chance that they can, and Gresham, who already has to defend the pure championship every chance that he can. So, we'll see if that's where we're naturally going to go, and if that goes successfully, and we start leaning in that direction. Sure, but right now, yeah, a lot of balls are up in the air, and we're gonna see which one gets caught. And yeah, hopefully it's maybe it'll be the world title, maybe it'll be the television title. Time will tell.
Absolutely. Like there's any number of ways it could go. Maybe one potential outcome would be you, Lethal, and Titus teaming up for the 6-man belts because of the kind of the weight that's on Gresham's shoulders, as you mentioned. But I did watch, I think it was on Ring of Honor Twitter earlier today, your promo about that 6-man match, and you explained kind of some of the mindset surrounding this weekend's match with Shane Taylor Promotions, where it was honorable that they turned down that chance to be given the belts. They want to fight for the titles, but he also mentioned that that could very well be an empty gesture, that anybody has to back up, those and the words could just be that, just words. So because you mentioned that Shane Taylor Promotions attacked you from behind, obviously that's not honorable. So would you say that's another aspect of the foundation? Because in a lot of ways, the focus is on the pure wrestling, restoring the wrestling, but in a different. And then recently, we've seen another focus on the code of honor, handshakes, and respect. And so, is that one way that the foundation is starting to kind of not shift its focus, but kind of expand that, where it's not just about the wrestling, it's more, it is also about respect and honor, literally, and beyond the
Yeah.
wrestling itself.
Yeah, yeah, it is. I mean, of course, it's honorable that they turned down a free title and that they want to win it. They want to get a W to win it. But how do you go about getting that win? That's another big aspect of what we're all about. If you go in there and you're throwing a million closed fists, which are against the rules in pretty much every rule set in Ring of Honor, it's more heavily enforced in the pure division, but they are against the rules. If you're throwing guys out of the ring, using weapons, all this stuff, cheating, bad tags, taking advantage of the referees, is that really a victory? To me, I don't really think that it is. I think, to really prove something, you get it done within the confines of what we all agreed to do, the contracts that we all signed when we take these fights, how we agree to do them. And that's really important, and I think that's how you really learn who's the best. So when I say that, the words are honorable and the gesture is honorable, but the actions will prove where they're really at, we're going to see that in the ring. And we're going to see that firsthand, when we see if they're going to get it done as a true team of professional wrestlers who are going to show that they're the better team, or if they're going to take shortcuts. And we will see.
The foundation is a team of peer professional wrestlers, and I think whenever you have a strong faction kind of arrive and and thrive, right away, a lot of fans kind of automatically question who could potentially join the group,
Hmm.
or there be room for more members in the future? And then kind of along that line, do you at least have anybody that you're kind of keeping an eye on, or that you potentially like to recruit to the foundation, or potentially even extend an invitation to at this point? And any number of the wrestlers on the Ring of Honor roster seem to kind of embody a pretty similar mindset about embracing the peer wrestling, prioritizing peer wrestling. Do you have any thoughts on potentially adding new members to the group?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's kind of like a phase two, where phase one is to get established and to actually seize the power that it takes to make phase two happen. So once we get there, that's absolutely on all of our minds because yeah, a big part of what we're doing here is that we're all frustrated people, frustrated of seeing how professional wrestling works, how people get ahead, how people sneak ahead, and that kind of thing. And so, absolutely, once we get the power to change that, we're going to look to the people who have been overlooked because they haven't gone about things a certain way, because they haven't politicked a certain way, or because they don't look or act a certain way, but people who can fight and people who I know people want to see fight. They just haven't been given the chance to get to the point where the bell rings and they show what they can do. Because people look at them, people in suits, people who are into marketing and all this stuff, who have all these analytics about what people want. They look at, how they act, how they talk, all this stuff. And that's what gets people in the door. So we're going to try to take that power and show, look, we know people want to see wrestling. We're proving that now that people want to see wrestling. And then when the time comes, we are going to give opportunity to wrestlers. So that's definitely phase two of this whole thing. Yeah. And I mean, there's a lot of people knocking at the door hoping to do that. There's a lot of hungry people out there who feel like they've been overlooked, who feel the same way that we felt, but aren't in the position to do anything about it yet. And so we're trying to do that for them and lay out this groundwork for them, lay out this foundation for them, pardon the cliche, that they can come in and build on, build with us. So yeah, there's a lot of people out there that we've got our eyes on for sure.
Would you say that those people would tend to be already in Ring of Honor, or beyond its borders? Like, would people that Ring of Honor fans are already know within the company, or not at this point?
There's definitely a little bit of both. I mean, especially with, we're seeing a lot of new faces in Ring of Honor now, and we're seeing some faces come up from the dojo as well. I watched the four-way elimination gauntlet match that's on the ROH YouTube that was all dojo students, and I was really impressed with a couple of them, and so those are people that we're going to have our eye on because that's being like a wrestling student and trying to come up through that system and make something of yourself is really, really difficult because it's like you're forced to try to do everything like the right way and try to like work really hard for everything and show that you're the best wrestler and then hope that something happens. But that's just not always how it works in professional wrestling. A lot of the time it's something else that gets you in the door and somebody's going to take that spot from you and jump ahead of you. And so, we'll be fighting for guys like that who are already under the Ring of Honor umbrella, but might not be on the same path as others, and where I'm going to be fighting for the new faces who are here in Ring of Honor to because I think they remind me of the Ring of Honor that I knew and loved. I think they're just they need a couple more steps to get to the point where they really embody it. Um, and then yeah, of course there's people out there who haven't even got the chance to knock on the door yet, who I think do deserve a chance, and hopefully that time will come for them.
I think there's something really compelling to the idea of potentially even the foundation working with, or obviously even recruiting members of the dojo, as you just mentioned. There's some symmetry there. That's literally the potential foundation of the company. I think that
Hmm.
could be something that would definitely be worth keeping an eye on. And speaking of so many foundation funds, obviously,
Yeah.
but um, when I was watching Final Battle in December, I noted at the end of the show this really buzzworthy kind of stare down between the Foundation and La Faction Ingobernable, and I immediately went to this dream of a full blown stable feud between the two. I think I speak for a lot of Ring of Honor fans when I say that would just be incredible. Is that something that's kind of on your radar? Because I mean, not to be cliche, but about there's only room in this town for one of us. But when you've got these two top stables, there's only room for one of them to be at the top, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like most of those guys, if not all of those guys, except for maybe Kenny King here and there, were like forced to take some time off from Ring of Honor because they couldn't come and be a part of these tapings. And so they weren't even around while we were kind of laying the groundwork of all this. And yeah, the second they stepped back in the door, it became even more clear to all of us like what it was that we were fighting for and what it was that we were fighting against. Because watching Final Battle, it was this amazing show, but at the same time, it felt like it was like two different shows at the same time because there's the foundation guys trying to create something that is professional wrestling through and through, to its bones, to its heart, that is professional wrestling. And then you've got La Fascion Ingobernables coming back and running roughshod and, breaking every rule there is, fighting outside the rings, going crazy. The main event of Final Battle, the finish right before the very finish of the title match was a chair shot to the head from Bestia, from Rush's father, from La Fascion. And that's like exactly what we're fighting against. And it just became crystal clear that, like, yeah, I mean, it feels like an inevitable collision course kind of thing, where you use the cliche. I've been thinking it too. Where like, there's only room in this town for one of us. There's not room for both of us. You cannot have these two ideals coexisting at the same time in such a tight space in one company, because to have one completely disagrees with how the other is trying to have the company look. And I see them, they're walking around with championships. Roosh is walking around with the Ring of Honor Wrestling Heavyweight World Championship, and to see him walk around with that on his chest or around his waist, something that says Ring of Honor, and he's winning that title, the Ring of Honor Wrestling Championship, by having his father hit his opponent in the head with a chair. It's unacceptable. And so, yeah, I mean, I think it's an inevitable collision course at this point. I don't know when or where it's gonna happen, but it's becoming more and more clear ever since they've been back that we can't coexist. We can't share this space when we're both trying to own it. So, yeah.
I mean, again, I think I speak for a lot of fans when I hope it's inevitable because I just think that would be fantastic because you've been one of especially since the Pure Tournament, you've been one of my favorites. But even before that, um, even though you didn't always get the most prominent role like the way you are now, every time you were on Ring of Honor programming, I'd always just thought this guy, even like last year, like early last year, you really you've always really embodied that pure wrestling, the foundation, the code of honor, everything about it. I just think between you, Gresham, Lethal, Red Titus is someone that's stepping up, and now you've got obviously La Faction, despite their maybe dishonorable ways, plenty of star power there as well. So I definitely think I would like to see that. I know many fans would as well. I've seen some buzz about it on the Ring of Honor Experience Facebook page, and that's kind of a new initiative where Ring of Honor is giving the fans more of a voice and letting them kind of speak on some of these things, what they do want to see. What do you think is really the best part about something like that, about this direct connection to the fans and letting really kind of encouraging the fans to have a voice, like beyond obviously what that specific part of it, the fans having a voice. How do you think that benefits Ring of Honor heading into 2021 as the year goes on?
Yeah, I think it's super important. I think, the people who are watching it, the fans, the aficionados, they're the people that we're doing it for. They're the people who are taking in this product. And so to know what it is that they want to see is super important. And it helps you avoid getting like stuck in a bubble, pardon the pun with the, how we've been filming and everything, but it helps you avoid getting stuck in that bubble because it gives you different eyes on your product and different eyes who are looking at other things and seeing, what they like and where they want to see it. And so, if we can be the ones to give it to them, then, that's even better. So it's really, really important, and I'm glad they're doing it. And I'm glad they're doing it as a ongoing thing too, rather than just sort of one event where the fans are presented with kind of almost like a very small choice of like, out of these options, what do you want to see? Or instead, it's just like an open forum for the fans to express what and who they want to see. And yeah, it's great. And I think it plays right into sort of what we're talking about of underutilized people getting those opportunities where if you've got people out there saying to this company who's asking, who do you want to see? And they're saying your name, it's kind of undeniable, and it's going to help people, I think, get looks that maybe would have been overlooked before.
And I certainly agree. I think it's been really encouraging. I'm a proud member of the page, of course, and it's just really cool when either if I myself make a post or if someone makes a post and I happen to like it or support it, then obviously it's not going to happen every single time. But if a post is popular enough, if enough people agree, and kind of it's a way to literally give power to the people. I know we've already seen some ways that it's paid off, where there's some support for a guy like Tony Deppen, where
Hmm.
some fans want, myself included, wanted to see him return. Boom, he comes back to Ring of Honor, and he at least has a chance to come back and prove himself in a Ring of Honor ring. A guy like Shane Taylor, who I believe won the fan poll for a title shot, and you can imagine maybe at some point this year, you or any member of the foundation could potentially benefit in that similar way. So I think it's a great way to really just give more I guess power to the fans, and I really do commend Ring of Honor for doing that.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
so that's already kept you a little too long now. So do you have anything you want to plug, or at the very least, how people can follow you on social media and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, they can follow me on whatever social media is sauce_Williams. I got a shirt out that's pretty new on the ROH web store. If you look at that at rohwrestling.com, and just definitely check out the TV product. There's a lot of ways to watch it. I know it can be a little bit confusing, but really, there's almost like an abundance of options of ways to watch it. Rather than it's not like there's one difficult specific way. So tons of ways to watch it. It goes up. It's on Fight TV. It goes up on the ROH Wrestling website at a certain point for to watch the current weekly episode for free. It's free. You don't have to buy anything. So just check it out because we've been putting out new episodes of wrestling every week throughout this whole pandemic with no reruns. It's all new content. Even in the pandemic special episode or whatever, we showed unseen matches that were filmed in Vegas last year. So there's all sorts of new stuff coming out. So yeah, please just check it out, and let your voice be heard too. Just if there's somebody you want to see that would make you more interested in Ring of Honor, or that you think would be a great fit, let the company know because they're listening, and it's great to see. It's nice to see. There will be people that get brought in one time and I think they do great and I'm like, oh man, I would love to see these wrestlers back, but I don't know that everybody in the company feels the same way. But then, the fans are the voices that really get hurt. And so then those people say, bring these people back, bring these people back. And then you see people like, Wheeler Yuta and Fred Yehai, who are now, pretty much regulars and could be trying to build on something like that. And, they have even more momentum and even more chances to show that they deserve that because the fans are letting people know that what they want to see. And what I love to see is that it seems like the fans want to see wrestling. So that makes me super glad at the end of the day.
The fans certainly do want to see wrestling, and the product you guys are putting out every week on Ring of Honor Wrestling, the weekly show, is just absolutely top notch. I know I enjoy it every week, and definitely looking forward to seeing you and the foundation continue to thrive as the year goes on. Tracy, thank you so very much for joining us today. I really do appreciate it. It's been
Thank
a
you very
pleasure.
much. Thanks, Colin. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.